We are Burning Youth, a blog collaborative of young adults who believe that the light outshines the darkness and our voices outlast the voices in our heads. We are louder. Hello, sweet friends, and welcome to podcast number 6.
Yo.
Me and Abs are here to bring it and stuff like we always do. So this month is kind of exciting on the blog because we're diving into the topic of self-love. And so today's podcast, we're kind of just going to chat a little bit about like what is self-love, because I think it's something that could mean different things to different people. And so it's kind of an important thing to go into the topic knowing like what is it exactly, like how are we defining it, what is our focus. There's definitely a big difference between focusing on yourself and loving yourself, so I think we're gonna kind of just break that down a little bit and talk about that. It's a little chilly in Vermont today. It kind of warmed up over the past few days, and then
It's 10 degrees when I got up this morning.
yeah, I was about to say, and then it kind of just went.
Explosive noises.
Yeah, all of that went downhill. So, in honor of self-love today, I am wearing sweatpants right now. I just felt the need to let everybody know. So, let's dive right in and talk about what is self-love. And like I said, I think it's something that could mean something different to everyone. So, I would invite you to kind of explore it yourself and find what it means to you. But there are a few explicit things that I think self-love is not. And this was something me and you were talking about the other day, as far as this attitude of achieving something, setting a goal or a certain benchmark for yourself, and you cannot be happy or really celebrate or love yourself until you have reached XYZ. And if you don't reach XYZ, you're kind of just have this ticked off feeling and you get upset with yourself and you don't really love yourself at all, because it's kind of like this you do good, do bad, get beat kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something that society really keeps alive of, push yourself and then reward yourself.
Right.
Which is something that I've only recently come to unsubscribe from, because it's really it's not kind to push yourself to the point of like, being unkind and really harsh with yourself and jerking yourself around, and then, rewarding yourself with whatever thing is just pure reward, or I don't even know how to say it, like luxury. I don't even know how to say it, but like
something I've seen, kind of just to interject, is that it's kind of like this work and beat yourself up kind of thing. Be really hard on yourself, and then basically complete opposite, like,
yeah,
so lay on the couch, watch TV, eat chips, eat some donuts and just enjoy and don't think about anything work related, rather than finding this balance of how about we work hard, yes, but we also find kindness and lightness and certain amounts of relaxation and just feeling comfortable while we're working. Yeah. It's always one or the other. So you create these two distinct things where one is totally, enjoyable to a point, and then the other is completely unenjoyable. And I think that's part of why people can often have this feeling of dread with working or working out or anything that's not explicitly in their chill time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the thing that used to put me off about that is feeling like, well, my work should be fierce and I should be very, I should attack my work with a very fierce, independent, persevering attitude. And that doesn't go very far if you're not pairing it with the kindness and the grace.
Right. I totally agree. And I think that um, that's something that yoga has definitely helped me with, is finding it's, even though it is an exercise that you're putting your body through, you are finding a gentleness and a kindness and a respect towards your body and finding what feels good even though you're working out. And I think that things like working out or working in your field or at your job or whatever often has attached to it this idea that it should be unpleasant and you should be hard on yourself, and that's like, you know, you're out there grinding. And it's fine. You should be out there grinding, but there should be a kindness to it. There should be a certain amount of fun. I'm a strong believer that in almost everything, most normal everyday things, you can find a certain amount of fun if you look hard enough and kind of bring that to the surface. And it doesn't have to be this big laborious task that you kind of torture yourself with. So um, I think self-love, from the standpoint of like, oh, love yourself, reward yourself after you work really hard on, getting in shape or, slaving away all day. That's not necessarily self-love. It's kind of more of a reward system.
Right.
Self-love should be centered more around finding a kindness towards yourself, your body, and your spirit throughout the course of your day, regardless of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's something that I've been working on lately, is kind of just I have the attitude of I'm very much a perfectionist and an overachiever, and I don't really like using that word, even because it kind of sounds proud, but I'm not. I kind of just mean it in the way that not even necessarily an overachiever as much as an overcommitter. Like, I commit myself to a lot of things, and unrealistically. And when I can't meet those unrealistic goals, I feel very self-judging a lot of times. And it's really helped me to kind of look at it in the way of not so much it's okay if you don't meet your goals, as much as limit yourself a little bit, because it depends on your personality. But for my personality, I found that in a way to show myself kindness is to create boundaries for what I do and not overcommit and not be unrealistic with what I can do just for the glory of the satisfaction of achievement. Because I found that satisfaction is not long lasting.
Right.
And that satisfaction isn't even the true reward in the end. The reward is the long lasting thing, which is showing yourself love and becoming a happier, more persistently joyful person, because you are constantly finding grace and kindness and ease in what you do.
Right, and I think one of the things too is when your happiness becomes so wrapped up, and it's a conscious choice we make to allow our happiness to become wrapped up in a thing. So let's say for me, it's like, and this is actually something I'm currently working on, is having my happiness wrapped up very much in my writing career. And so it's like if I'm working on a book, okay, I have to, I'll be happy when I write this chapter. So you're happy, you've idolized this thing to the point of your happiness depends on it, and that's kind of putting it in a place of kind of God, because your true happiness should not lie in your achievement or whether you can do a thing, because that's placing your happiness on something that moves a lot.
Yeah.
So place your happiness in things that are constant. God's love for you, your love for him, your love for your family, their love for you, things that are deeper than that, than things that move. Things like your work or your workouts or your hobbies or certain projects you're working on. Those things need happiness first to flourish. You won't be happy after they flourish. And if that's the setup, if it's you're not going to be happy until after it blooms, it's not going to have the right ingredients to really become that beautiful thing you want it to be, because happiness will not be one of those ingredients because you're waiting until after it's done to be happy.
Right. And in my experience, I've found that when you do push happiness off to a later date, you will never reach that later date.
Right, because when you hit the goal, it's like it'll move out.
There will always be something that you want to place in front of it.
Right.
And you will always keep pushing it further and further away from you.
It'll always be, you have to do the bigger ski jump.
Yes, exactly.
I did the smaller ski jump, now I have to do the bigger ski jump. If you haven't seen Eddie the Eagle, you won't know what we're talking about, but... So I think one of the things, too, is that one of the big things in our generation is placing happiness on your physical appearance, which I think is really sad, because each and every individual is beautiful for their uniqueness and their purpose and their beauty that only they have as an individual person created by God. And one of the things I think we can do to implement self-love in our lives is to stop critiquing someone else's work. And what I mean by that is to stop judging yourself and start embracing yourself more. Stop focusing on how can I change myself, and focus more on how can I become a healthier person in mind, especially in mind, because so often the most toxicity we have in our lives is from negative thoughts that we play on repeat in our heads about, like, oh, you're not pretty enough, you're not good enough, you're not thin enough, you're not fit enough, whatever it is, your waistline should be this certain number because, you saw online one time that, this girl had this big of a waistline. It's like, you need to stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop critiquing yourself like you're an object. It's really objectifying yourself. So, learning to embrace who you are and focus on how can I become healthier in mind and body and spirit, because when your focus becomes your health and not trying to force yourself into a certain shape, you're going to end up being exactly who you're supposed to be, and you're going to feel really good in your soul, especially when you stop critiquing and you start embracing who you are. And as you focus on that, you find, hey, I have these abilities to do things, and my body is, a temple. I've been equipped to be able to work hard and play hard and do all of those things in a kind and loving way, not like critiquing constantly, oh, you can be better, you can be better, you can be better, and never really appreciating yourself and your current, beauty that you already possess. So I personally think, I know me and you have talked about this a lot, is that one of the biggest anti-self-love entities out there is the world's really, really, really negative pressure, especially on young people, about physicality and how that's affected in so many ways the way our brains work when we're thinking about ourselves. I think we've had some great discussions about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And a lot of times, I've obviously struggled with body image issues, but now, at this point in my life, I feel like I struggle more with mind issues. um, Feeling putting a lot of pressure on myself, on my mind, and what kind of projects I take on, and really the why behind it. And you could ask yourself, why do you do basically anything, whether it's body image thoughts or thoughts about working harder or working out more or being smarter, whatever it is, why are you doing it? Like, just something to think about. Not necessarily a formula, and it's not necessarily going to lead you to a solution, but just kind of observe why you're doing something. Maybe it's something that you need to let go of, or something that's not serving you anymore, or something that you will be liberated to be free from, and maybe you'll find opportunities that exist outside of the parameters of that commitment you made to fill in the blank,
Right.
whatever it is.
And sometimes it's actually more courageous to say, and more loving towards yourself to say no to things rather than feeling like I'm obligated to do all of these things. That's treating yourself more like a workhorse,
Right.
not like, a beloved creator of good things.
Right.
Sometimes, in order to have that space, like you were just saying, you need to make the decision to create that space for yourself.
Right. Yeah, and like we were talking about a few days ago, I think, about being a good teacher, what it takes to be a good teacher, and to really bring out the potential in somebody. And if you're going to be your own teacher, which we basically are, and a lot of times we're really bad at it, if you're teaching yourself, then in my opinion, the earmarks of a good teacher is somebody who doesn't put the student down all the time. So a good teacher wouldn't be telling a student, you're a piece of trash, you need to be better and work harder and accomplish more. I
Right.
think the highest level, the teacher, the best kind of teacher, is the kind that draws on your potential in a way that inspires you and encourages you to move forward, because you know that you have gold inside of you that wants to come out. And it's not that you're trying to aspire to be better than the lowly state that you're currently at. It's that you have incredible potential and incredible guts. And you need to realize how awesome you really are before you can even achieve the awesome thing.
Exactly.
So if we're stuck in a place where we're not thinking we're awesome, then how will we ever become awesome?
Absolutely. We have gold in our bones. Shameless plug.
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things I think is so important is loving self-talk, because we talk to ourselves more than anyone talks to us.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can either be receptive to what God is telling us and talking to us about, the still small voice, be still and know. We can quiet our minds enough to really be receptive to that, and then replay those tapes in our heads and spend time thinking about, I am a champion. I believe in myself. God believes in me. I have potential. I have purpose. I am beautiful. I am loved. I am loving. We can replay those tapes, or we can be like, I'm tired. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Oh my God. Today is such a horrible day. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. I'm failing. I'm flunking. I'm not doing as good as I should be. And we can replay those. And every time we do, it becomes more and more a reality. I like to think of it as, we have a bunch of different deflated balloons, and they all have straws in them, and whichever ones we're talking about, we're blowing more air into that balloon. So if we're spending time talking about our problems and talking about how we think we're failing, we're just inflating the failure balloon bigger and bigger and bigger, when even if the situation is tough at the time, look to what God says about you, look to what your purpose is, look to what your potential is, and blow air in that balloon and see that become bigger. And as that becomes bigger, the other balloons are going to deflate. They're not going to have room. It's all about creating that space for self-love and kindness to have a much larger precedence in your life. And so your life will be centered more from there. And you'll just go into work, go into whatever you're doing, and you'll be going from a place of self-love. So it's all about finding that center, finding softness, kindness, love towards oneself, not a self-centeredness, not a focus on being obsessed with self, but on a focus of the fact that, hey, you know what? You're beautiful, you're full of purpose, you have gold in your bones, you are here for a very, very important reason, and that to me is self-love. And I think that's something we should find in our everyday lives. I'm going to read this quote to wrap it up from Sean Aker, the author of The Happiness Advantage. When we are happy, when our mindset and mood are positive, we are smarter, more motivated, and thus more successful. Happiness is the center, and success revolves around it. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love y'all.
See you next time.